albums have you released, like, in the past 5 years?
As of this morning, I've done 17. I see a lot about my music differently now that I've gone on tour and come back. I was like, I make weird rap. And then in my head was like, don't say that. Like, you don't make weird rap. You make rap music. Like, your rap music is odd and abnormal. And I was like, self-correcting myself in my head. You're like, your rap music's odd. No, it's not. It's just abstract, but not really.
How do you get your pianos to work underwater? Hey everybody, welcome to Groundwater, episode 15. Groundwater is now up on iTunes, and Stitcher, and SoundCloud, and some other stuff. So however you would like to receive your Groundwater podcast, we can accommodate you. Thanks for hanging out with us. This has been such a journey of the mind for me, and also a journey of a map, like a physical journey. And on my physical journey, I ran into Cunabear, and we had a show at Capitalism. I believe that is in, I want to say Midland, Texas. And he was on his tour with Elena Valor, who was also on this podcast. And we hung out, we did a show together, and it was super cool. And we ate tacos. And then I saw him again later. A couple nights later, we had a show together in Phoenix. So that was a super big deal to run into Mr. Cunabear out there on the road doing the rapping thing. And then all the way at the end of my tour, I had a couple shows in Savannah, so I stopped by and hung out with Mr. Cunabear in his lab, in his laboratory where he was making furry beats. And we had a big time, and we talked about it. And I'm super excited about this interview. I will say that there is only one Cunabear. Dude is super unique, and there's no one else like him out there. And his music and his art is super unique, and there's nothing else like it out there. And he shows us where the sausage is made. He shows us how it all goes down. And I just want to thank Cunabear again for being such an open and honest and frankly vulnerable dude. At the end of this interview, we get pretty personal. And I was editing it, I was looking back at it, and it kind of gave me the feels. I got the feels, I got the feelies. So thank y'all. Thank y'all so much for listening. Leave us a like or a comment, or maybe show it to your friend who's, hey, what's a good podcast? And you can be like, this one. But from the bottom of my heart, and all the way from my office in New Orleans, this is Jonathan Brown, hanging out with you on this podcast. Thanks for listening. Here it is. So, hi.
Hi.
I'm in Savannah.
You were in Savannah.
Okay.
We're in Savannah.
We're in Savannah.
This is awesome.
Yes.
It's awesome to be in Savannah right now.
So tell us who you are. You go by Cunabear.
Yeah, my name is Cunabear. I'm a rapper, painter, illustrator.
Okay.
Person. From Richmond, Virginia originally. Been living in Savannah about 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dope. And I caught up with you on this tour. We had a couple dates. Where we were in...
We
did Capitalism in Midland, Texas.
Yeah, and then Phoenix.
I don't remember the name of that venue.
Tempe Tavern.
Tempe Tavern, Phoenix.
Tempe Tavern, yeah.
Okay. And I was just super blown away by your octopusness on the 404.
I do octopus dance and octopus hands all over.
Yeah, dude. Can I dig into that?
Yeah.
To start, I'm just curious about what is your philosophy behind the 404? Because I use a 404 on stage, and I feel like I'm doing maybe 3% of its capabilities.
See, I still feel that way myself, even with what I have turned into part of my act. It really is just, when I first saw people using the 404, it was Bus Driver. And he was on the Kinda Neat show, and he had been doing an effect to tweak the beat, but he wasn't adjusting his voice. And then I saw Milo doing effects over only his voice and not the beat.
With the 404?
Yeah. Okay. With the 404, and he plugged his into a mixer to only affect his voice as opposed to the beat itself. It was like,
hold up. So Milo was using the 404 as kind of an effect pedal, but not running samples out of it?
I think he had run samples out of it, but he had plugged his mic in through the 404 and then the 404 through a mixer.
Gotcha.
So he was separating the two. Okay. And Bus Driver was separating them differently, and I was like, well, what if I just leave it
as is?
And leave it as is, plug in, and then have it affect my voice and the beat at the same time. Whoa. And have it be just a full adjustment of the sound in general.
All right. Mind blown.
Yeah. So I just kind of run with that and let it... I'm just messing with the knobs and seeing what things can go in and out of each other. And
I feel that.
A lot of freestyling it, and that's kind of where that's where my sound comes from.
Are you okay? So, but on the pads, do you have like chunks of songs, or do you have, or it's different for every song?
It's different for every song.
For those of us who have no fucking idea what we're talking about this box called a Roland 404, and you can I right now load full songs in and manipulate oftentimes either the intro, the outro, or the chorus, but I kind of leave that thing alone and get to the rapping. What was super dope about you on stage was like it was like you're rapping, but you never really took your hands off that fucker. And it looked like you're like a lot of times, and this is from the audience perspective. A lot of times, it looked like you were composing live.
It feels that way to an extent for me, because it feels like my live shows present the songs that I write in a different context. Yeah. Or at least, I don't know, that might be the right way to say it, putting it into a different context. Because when you'll hear any song that I do live, it gives me an opportunity to add performance to that song. Is usually just hearing any beat or any song that I do recorded, the 404 effects aren't there. Sure. For the most part, it's just me and my voice. Usually I might do like pitch adjustment for effect or something like that, or maybe a really big delay. Yeah. But if I'm gonna manipulate the song in as far as the recording goes, it's usually a full let's manipulate the song and make it into an experience, versus when I'm live, the song is already there and I get to tweak the experience and make it something fresh.
Do you oftentimes tweak it differently every night? Like, is it a different show every night, or are you you kind of got your ins and outs?
I have ideas for what certain songs do and don't need what effects, but other than that, it's just impulse. It happens in the moment, whatever sound. Because sometimes I won't even touch it at all. There will be some nights where I'll do a whole set and not even touch my 404's effects and just run the beats. Okay. And just do it normal. And just have a more traditional, I guess, rap show as opposed to...
So while we're on this, sort of gear nerdery, is there any, are there any toys out there that you want to play with? What is...
I want to actually get my hands on an MPC and really get to sit down and see what the craft of beat making feels newer to me still than rapping does, and I'd like to actually have a chance to sit down and learn how to craft beats with hardware as opposed to with software for the most part.
I feel that.
And I feel like there's not necessarily a disconnect, but they're two different worlds almost, and I'd like to tap into one. Okay. See what the other side of the road is like. Yeah. I really don't know very much about making beats with just hardware itself, which is another reason I got the 404, is because it, as far as making beats with it, which I haven't really gotten too deeply into, but that's almost entirely the physical form of sitting here and chopping the beat with your hands and hearing it by ear, as opposed to there's no screen with like levels or dials and things like that. You just have the box and what you record with it and how you record it, versus like sitting and looking at a screen and you can like drag and drop different things and move things around. You very much have to work with what you have with it. And I think that
limitation can add to the creativity, because you kind of gotta like climb out of the box that you put yourself in.
Exactly.
Alright, so on the way here, I was listening to your album Bad Fur Day. What did you use in the production for that?
I've used Logic Pro for all of my albums.
Oh shit, okay.
And I haven't really even touched hardware very much.
Okay.
For most of my
So the hardware game is new?
Yeah, the hardware game is new for me.
Okay, dope. I was curious about your name, right?
Everyone's curious about the name.
Tell us about the name.
The name is such a... I don't know, it feels like almost a letdown of a story, because people expect this crazy, convoluted, like...
I'm half bear.
Yeah. But in reality, it's like... Before I was rapping, I was in this one-man band project thing. I can't even really remember what it was called.
Yeah.
But I wrote a song called Cunabear, and it was just this ethereal sounding acoustic guitar piece. It was like 3 acoustic guitar pieces layered over top of each other. And I had like a sample of a waterfall in the background, and it was super serene.
Yeah.
There was like animal noises and whatnot. And I just liked the name of the song, and the song itself had a really warm feeling. And the song died and the group died, but the name stuck around, and I had it like in the back of my head for a while. And I'd been painting and starting to do freelance painting, and needed an artist name, and was like, I can just use this. This is a name I've had laying around for a while. It's Cunabear. And I'd been painting up until the point where I started to rap, and as I started to transition to that, I picked up the name Spooky Tooth, but that name had been copywritten by a 70s band, so I couldn't keep it, and was like, well, how about I just take the art and the rap and put 2 worlds in one.
Okay.
Save me time of having to like make a separate Facebook page for every other thing, and like I can just have it all condensed in one name. So I just kept the Cunabear name and was like, I'll make this be what it is.
Dope.
It has been since then. It's been good though.
I was curious about, so I know you make visual art. Do your music and your visual art ever work together? Like, do those either worlds influence each other, or
definitely,
do you ever have a project that you're like super excited about making the album art for?
Definitely. Album art tends to be the first part of any project that I do. I'll usually end up making the album art like months ahead of time.
Okay.
And it'll represent a feeling or emotion or just a color that comes to my mind, or any visual imagery or anything that like might be a pertaining theme in my life at the moment, and it finds itself put together in some sort of art piece, and then the art piece usually brings music to it.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I'm just letting that sink in for a second. So the visual lets the music sink into it.
It brings the music to it, totally. I find myself to
that is mad fascinating. Okay.
It's a very visual kind of person that I've grown myself into, like seeing myself develop, especially as a kid, being an artist.
Yeah.
You can never really tell where certain parts of your art separate. Sometimes you feel like certain things should go into other things, and sometimes you kind of want the disconnect, but I found that it's come so natural for me to be visual first.
Okay.
And musical second. And it's been that way in my life since I was a kid, so it just kind of happens that way, I suppose, naturally.
Okay. This is mad fascinating. on Bad Fur Day, on the first track, I don't know where this question came from. I was just listening to the first song a couple times, and I was like, I wanted to ask this: how do you How do you get your pianos to work underwater?
How do I get my pianos to work underwater? That's a strong question.
It just sounds so, like, fluid and, like, I don't know, like if there was a dolphin, like, wearing, like, a pimp suit or something like that. I imagine that's what that song sounds like or something.
That's
like
the best visual imagery I've ever had for any of my music. That's the best.
Yeah, no, I was super blown away by it.
I appreciate it so much.
Yeah.
I don't know. I do find myself drawn to like the sounds of being underwater.
Okay.
And that auditory aesthetic kind of pulls me in. Like ocean, forests, those two things kind of draw. I suppose I draw a lot of natural elements from those two soundscapes.
Okay, so this could be totally left field. I just had an idea. Like, what if for your next album release, you do it like at a pool, and then you put the speakers under the water? Because you know how like sound travels underwater. And you can hear it pretty clearly. Like, I think it'd be fun to have a pool party release where we were all like meant to be. Like, everybody has underwater. One ear in the water for your set.
I love it.
Just like have a listening party at a pool.
I would love to be able to have like a submerged show.
Yeah,
do the show underwater, like completely somehow.
Just wrap the,
just be completely waterproof somehow, and do the entire
stretch a condom over the 404, tie a knot.
It'd be perfect.
Yeah,
super protection,
easy
for his and her pleasure.
Yeah, easy. So I wanted to ask about some specific lines on that. You have some where I'm just like driving along, and these like one-liners just make me like spit out my coffee and write shit down. But like one of them is a hoodie is a black man's casket.
Yeah.
I had to stop what I was doing when I heard that. What, like, where did that come from? What do you mean?
Well, a lot of it Bad Fur Day itself was written in my point in my life. I was having a lot of mental self-doubt and confusion when it comes to race.
Yeah.
And pertaining to me specifically being half black and half Pakistani, but not having as much contact and connection with my Pakistani side. I have to identify more often with myself as being black. And at the time, I think Luke Cage had just come out. We were running from the hurricane. And while in the midst of running from the hurricane, most of that album was being written and having to experience weird racism from like complete strangers, just being like, we went to a hotel and being outside that hotel, there was nothing but black people in hoods, like the same colored hoods. They all had like really tight fitting gray hoodies on, and they were peering outside their windows and standing outside their doors, like blatantly just like staring, casing you with their eyes, and like you're maybe 5 feet away from these people, and you can tell just physically based on how they're approaching you that they're casing you and making sure that you've got stuff in your car and like looking around at your shit, and it makes it feel as if the hood that they wear can be such a holding statement. And hoods for black people have been such a holding statement. It can mean so many different things just based off of the initial way that you peer and see somebody. To be a black man's casket, to be something that can represent holding you down to your death in moments in time like that where you're not certain about how someone is approaching you simply based on what you wear. Because, I mean, it's not a thing to want to judge somebody.
Sure.
Even in situations where you feel like you're vulnerable, like during a hurricane when you're trying to have a place to feel safe being with a group of people and you come across only people that make you feel unsafe, and then you start to become paranoid and judge people based on outward appearances and things like that. You don't necessarily mean to. I'm not sure if I'm holding on to the original question fairly.
No, you did.
But
that's super insightful.
to be a black man's casket, I suppose, in the line, and for what I meant through it, was speaking specifically about not feeling like anything but death can be held to light when you're faced with just the outward judgment.
Yeah.
The initial judgment always seems to be a dangerous one. It's crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's just a hood, you know?
It's
like,
just a piece of clothing.
It's a piece of clothing.
Yeah. But the connotation of it.
Yeah, and in the moment, yes, we felt like we were in danger being surrounded by people who were just staring at your car and looking at you bringing things in your hotel room. But at the same time, it's not always like that. Like, that's a very rare, weird circumstance that we found ourselves in. But it had me thinking about that kind of just perception, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah.
It was just a weird, interesting little chunk, a tiny little moment that happened in the writing of it all. It, like, resonated with me. I'm not sure.
Dope. You got another line, and it's the couplet is something like, "Is the money worth the offer ever? Does the money make you suffer forever?" And I was curious about kind of your thoughts towards capitalism, either as a person or an artist.
Yeah.
Or
money has been a weird staple in my music for a long time, because I've always had a weird approach to my value and appreciation of money. Even as a kid growing up, I feel like I understood what it meant to understand the value of money, or the value of a dollar, but at the same time could never find myself able to hold it to that same height. Like, I found it more important to do the things that I cared about, regardless of the money, than to do the things that would make me enough money to not have to care. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, my dad would always kind of put emphasis on not necessarily like becoming rich or being wealthy or having excess money, but like, he's kind of the work smarter, not harder type. So he would rather have you do something that could earn you money, that you could earn well, and set it aside, and then no longer have to worry about money. Get yourself a job where you can push that worry aside and then continue to do what you love. Whereas I found myself only being able to do what I loved and not really being able to even concern myself with the money enough to want to work that hard and then push everything else aside afterwards. Like, I want it now. I would rather enjoy it now. And so being a rapper and being an artist and being in this like starving artist type of, I don't know, we're like building off of the world of the starving artist and turning it into something where everybody can kind of be profitable doing what they love regardless of what art it is.
Yeah.
And you still see as many people trying to follow the system of, let me work really hard at this thing that I don't enjoy so that I can push it aside later and do the thing I love later.
Right. And I'm all about some delayed gratification as a concept. Like, but a lot of people think that art is not work.
Right.
Which is bullshit.
Right.
And you might spend like 12 hours cranking at something, but you're doing it because you you love it, and you have something to say. Whereas if you talk to people, like some people's whole business plan in life is like, I'm gonna be a pharmacist, and then I'm gonna sling bottles of pills at Walmart for only 20 years. Because I'll have made so much money
by then that
I can retire by the age of 49.
Yeah.
Won't that be fascinating?
And it's like, then I'm almost 50, and then
that sounds like a weird, luxurious prison.
Yeah, and that shit baffled me. Like, before I was rapping, I was working for my dad, and we were doing real estate, and I was his assistant.
Yeah.
And I was making more money a day than I make a week now. Like, working as a pizza dough boy. And I love making dough. But I couldn't enjoy the fruit of my labor working in real estate and actually making, like, bank money. Because I didn't care about it. I didn't like it at all. I hated everything about it. It was like math, which was the bane of my existence right out of high school. I was horrible at it. And I didn't have fun doing it. I worked for 3 hours a day and would come home and had money to spend and nothing to spend it on. But it didn't make me any happier. I wasn't sure if the money was ever worth the offer, ever. It never felt like it. And then you come into the world of rap and hip-hop where there is still such a strong sense of industry, because it feels a little bit, at least from my perspective and my experiences with rock and metal, and being in metal bands, like the industry of being in a band doesn't really pertain as heavily now as it did 10, 20 years ago. Whereas the hip-hop industry still is like this huge driving force behind popular music and music in general. And seeing independent artists also working with artists that are like kind of sort of in industry but not all the way there, and then they're working with people that are like 10 levels above them, and they're working with people that are underground, and you see all the connecting points, but you never really can tell who's benefiting more or less, or if that's even what the battle is for, you know? Like, the money kind of blurs these lines between who is doing well for themselves, and at the end of the day, all you have is your outside perception of what someone's life is like. But for yourself, is the money ever worth that offer? Can you really tell until it's too late? Or should you continue to strive for what you feel will take you where you want to go regardless? The album explores those questions a lot. It goes deep into talking about artist versus a person who makes art and what that means.
What is the difference?
And that's a question. I'm not sure, truthfully. And that's kind of what I made that album to ask, was to see where the lines are drawn. I was thinking a lot at the time about what it means to make money off of your art versus what it means to sell out, quote unquote, and to like make art for money. And how do you define that for yourself versus for other artists? And like, is it on a project by project basis, or is it based on like this chunk of their life versus where they are after this thing happens to them? Or, you know, like, it's so variant for everybody and so individualistic that sometimes you kind of can't really tell. Yeah. So I sat down and said, well, what are the main questions that I have for myself? Like, what are the things that you approach with that?
So another question I got is, what do you think is the difference between art and entertainment? Because
I think the difference between art and entertainment kind of comes to, well, I think the best way that you could separate the two would be based on how the artist themselves puts themselves in that place. Is really...
So the intention of the creator?
The intention of the creator, I think, would be what would drive the separate between the two. Because I don't know if this is even a fair example, but you can say based on the very beginnings of East Coast versus West Coast hip hop. There are so many similarities between both, and the differences are so few, but they're so important at the same time. Like the West Coast very much was influenced by Hollywood and had a lot more to say about showmanship and a lot more to say about how you appear to the audience and engaging with the audience and getting this experience to happen, versus on the East Coast where things were a lot more, this is what's directly happening and you have to deal with it because you have no other option. And I know that exists on both planes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there was much more influence and much more, I'm not sure what the right word would be. They put a lot more stock into the act of making a show on the West Coast versus the act of being yourself and having that be what the show is. Because it wasn't until there was a shift and people started to say that you could be this $1 million artist and still dress how you wanted, like with Run DMC. And he brought about bringing out normal day clothes and going on stage in your sneakers.
Let me talk about that for a second. So I'm curious, how do you feel? So we're talking about art, we're talking about
entertainment,
we're talking about
the difference between the two.
DMC and Adidas. How do you feel like personally about sponsorship?
I think
what if like a canvas company was like, yo, we're gonna give you all these dope ass canvases if you just paint them and throw our logo on the side of it? Or
I think that also comes down to the same kind of thing. It kind of depends on what the artist determines as being having a sponsor versus having a brand that's in control of you.
Because that looked, we can pretend that there was no money involved.
But
come on, homie.
Yeah,
he's selling Adidas.
Of course he's selling Adidas.
And do I have any moral issue with Adidas as a shoe company? No.
Nah. But you see it and then you're like, I can't tell how pushed this is versus this looks like something that this dude stands behind. And that kind of, it gets drawn by the artist, that line in the sand, but at the same time, when it's drawn and how it's drawn also shows you the character of what that truly means to that person. Because, if I were to take a sponsorship from anybody, it would be for something silly like Skittles. Like there was a small point in my career where I actively was like, Skittles, sponsor me. Like, I will rock Skittles.
Hitting them up on Twitter and shit?
Yeah, I hit them up on Twitter. I was like, I'll rock Skittles at every show if you guys give me the wild fruit pack of Skittles every day. I'll wear it. I'll wear a t-shirt. I'll wear the shoes.
Just because you were that down to ride for Skittles?
I taste the rainbow, man. I love it. I love it. But that's the thing, like,
it's kind of hilarious.
At the same time, I couldn't ever see myself being sponsored by something that I either did not truly enjoy or wasn't already actively about that in a public setting to that degree. And I don't feel like, at least nowadays, there should be any other kind of sponsorship. Unless it's a natural, like, I like these guys, and they're like, we like you too. And that in itself kind of lends itself to Beartooth Collective and what we do as a label / community.
Right. Can you talk about that a little? Like, what is Beartooth Collective?
To me, and I can define it super loosely, Beartooth Collective is a collective of artists, musicians, performers, visual artists who all do something within the confines of interesting art, quote unquote.
Okay.
Art that inspires, at least to the very basic bias level myself, but also is just art that I don't see anyone else putting forward in putting into a light.
And you mean in the visual context as well as
visual
music?
Context,
as well as
music, as far as there are people who we've shared who just do like arts and crafts. But if their stuff is cool and I haven't seen anything like it before, someone needs to give them some kind of a spotlight, even if it's not as bright a one as it could be. Yeah. Because that still needs to be there.
And how does the spotlight manifest in a physical form? Like, do you guys have monthly events in Savannah? Are you putting out music? Are you what is happening?
That is what we're building towards. We're building towards being able to have public events and actually hosting shows. I'm hoping to be able to do them monthly, if not more than once a month.
Yeah,
I would love to be able to do that. Right now, we're still just a small record label. It's mostly me and Valor, and we share as much local music and as much independent level music, and even some bigger names that we just really like. It's basically a place for us to share the music and art that our friends make. The people that inspire us, the people that we're inspired to push forward. Anyone that we have been on shows with, or people we've been on tour with, or people that we've met online that just do really cool, creative anything. Yeah. And our goal is basically to just share as much as possible. And we're not necessarily, we call ourselves a label to an extent. Yeah. And we kind of are. We put out our own music, and we're going to be putting out a yearly compilation called Beartooth and Friends. Yeah. And we just get together as many names and people that we can from all of the creatives that we know that want to put out a song, whether it's new or old, or if it's something archived that they lost and found, or something that they thought they threw away and they thought, oh, it's trash, but then they found it again and we're like, no, I like this. I want to share it somehow. We give them a little space to put that on. I'm so new to the idea of building a label, and even on a bigger scale, building a collective and a group of people who actively want to push the same thing all at one time. And that's kind of a hard thing to do sometimes. It's like having a band, in a sense. Yeah. It's like having a band. So. But at the same time, all I really wanted it for was to have a place to push everyone else's stuff. Growing up in Virginia, there wasn't a music scene, there wasn't an art scene in my town. Yeah. And there really wasn't anywhere or anyone who was willing to push or showcase any creative output in our town. So the idea just came from me having a lack of that. Being like, I want to be able to give people something to stand behind where at least they know that there's something interesting and creative happening at least every single day. We're lucky enough to have people that are putting out interesting content on a regular basis. There's a cat from Atlanta named Stolen Drums who does live 4 sessions in his house. And he does one short show most mornings, if not every morning. And then he does a Beats and Chill session. That's like a 2-hour show that he does some nights.
Whoa. I gotta see this.
And and it's all on the Beartooth page. It's on Facebook, the Beartooth Collective Facebook page. Okay. Posts all of the things that we share. It's got my music, it's got Elena's music, it's got Beats and Chill. We try and share every episode that we can get from them. They also have another show on Thursdays called Controllerize. Yeah. Where they go to a pizza shop and play anime and have tons of different producers and beat makers come in from Atlanta, and they all get together and they eat pizza and drink beer and hang out and watch anime and play beats all day long. And they'll do like 4 different chunks of producers per show live posted on Facebook, and all we do is share the live post and try to get it to as many people as we can, because it's dope and someone needs to share it outside of their circle. Yeah. Because why not? That's kind of the motto behind it all. And we can say that we're open to like taking new artists and taking in albums, and I don't think we ever would turn anyone down necessarily. Yeah. But it's a lot more about the act of sharing than it is about the label itself.
Sure. That reminds me of an event in Jacksonville called Hip Hop and Hookah. And I think they do it at Nighthawks now. And a dude named Sean Tibbetts is involved. And they just like, there's rapper. It's like this giant freestyle session, and there's hookah there. And you just like hang out and puff on your hookah and grab a mic when you feel like it. Like, it's great. And they're cordless mics, and they kind of like pass them around the room. Like you'd be at the bar just rapping, and then pass the mic to somebody else. Like,
I would love to be able to get Bear to the actual event where we could have something like that on a regular basis.
Dude, Wormhole.
Yeah.
Wormhole.
That sounds like
they're so dope over there.
It's been up until now that I'm actually living in the city where I can kind of start trying to work towards influencing that happening.
Yeah.
Living on the outskirts out on Tybee, you kind of are detached from the scene and don't get to see it active as well. So I can't get as good a read on what it is people want out of that. But now that I'm here, hoping to change that and hoping to at least get people to see more art.
Yeah. So you mentioned tour earlier, and I saw you guys on tour. I'm curious about I got a couple things. A, what was like the high point? B, what's the low point of touring? And then C, like, do you consider yourself having, because that was your first big one, right?
That was my first tour, period.
So do you have, like, coming back home and looking back, do you have a different perspective on it now? Is there like a Cunabear before and after touring? Do you see either your own music differently or music culture differently, or...
I see a lot about my music differently now that I've gone on tour and come back. And I see...
How so? Like, what do you mean?
I feel like I have learned that I'm more in control of the crowds than I thought that I was previously. It used to kind of feel like I would get on stage and I would kind of be on stage for a second and kind of let everybody get to notice the fact that I'm like there's a person on stage and that things are about to happen, and then I would kind of like awkwardly just start playing a song and then just lead into it, and it didn't really feel like, to me, like I was engaging with the crowd in as, I guess, as proper as a way as I should as a performer. And having gone on stage and gone on tour and then come back, it feels like I realized that I was in a lot more control than I thought I was. And so now learning to influence that control and actually interact with the crowd.
Was there something specific about being out of town that showed you that?
Not necessarily, but I think the act of just being a stranger in a city and having people that, because I like to think, at least from being on my tiny little bubble on Tybee Island, that I'm not super duper well known in Savannah. Yeah. But to really be a stranger in a different city and then to see how people still are able and willing to react to you influencing what's going on in the room just by talking to them and expressing to them about a song or before or after or in the middle of your set or whatever you're doing. Yeah. Just seeing how that influence is very real, but it's also very reciprocated. Like, they do pay attention, they do feed back and forth. Yeah. That's important for me to have noticed, and it's an important thing to notice, I suppose. Just super dope. Yeah. High points and low points. The tour was so much fun. I think the high point was definitely getting to Portland, Oregon, and realizing that I had actually made it to a place I never thought I would really see. Because I never really thought that much about travel growing up. I'd always kind of wanted to, but never really saw it in my future as like a main point of my life where like I'll get to travel and see a whole bunch of different shit. But really getting to Portland and being like, we're on the other end of the country in every way possible right now. Like, there's nowhere else. We're here. We're on the edge. Yeah. I was like, this is surreal. We have to go back somehow. Like, how did we get here? It blows my mind. And it happened so quickly.
Hell yeah.
That
makes me think of Sun Ra, and he had that spaceship powered by jazz. It's like, how did we get here? Jazz, motherfucker. That's how we got here.
Jazz, motherfucker. Yeah. It's too real, man. It's too real. It's surreal that you're here now. Like, I know. It's blowing my mind. Yeah. The world is so small. So vast, but so small.
So duper small. So super duper small. And like that first show we did with Cami Posse, like...
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about, the Beartooth Collective. Cami Posse is like... It's this lighthouse of awesomeness. Just out in the middle of fucking Texas. And there's every state has a Cami Posse. Yeah. Like, I kind of think every town has a Cami Posse.
I think so, too.
You don't know it yet. You hadn't seen it yet, but it's there.
It's just hidden. It's the little hidden lighthouse. And Savannah's got a lot of tiny lighthouses, and they all show their own light so brightly. And I would just like to add another light.
Hell yeah.
I like to add another light. Throw a little bit more hip-hop and a little bit more, I don't know, just oddball things. Yeah, yeah. Savannah's an oddball city. It feels like the oddballness has kind of dimmed down a little bit. Yeah, yeah. I like to throw a little more weird in there. And it's coming to, this town transitions so often that sometimes it's kind of hard to keep up. Yeah. So I want to, if I could, I want to get back to some specific shit. This song Behemoth on Bad Fur Day, that bass line. Can I just ask, is it sample based or did you play that bass line? That bass line is nasty. I believe that's two different samples. Okay. That I chopped and put together. If I'm thinking of the right bass line. Yeah, it's like yeah, it's so good. It's so good. And I was just like, where did this come from? Yeah. Well, you don't have to reveal all of your musical secrets if you don't want to. The secret is remembering them all. I put out a lot of shit. I know, and I wanted to ask that too. Like, as I'm digging through your catalog, you really have put out, I kind of forget, a lot of music. Like, how many albums have you released, like, in the past 5 years? As of this morning, I've done 17. I'm sorry, can you say that again? As of this morning, I've done 17, because I just put out Mookie this morning. 17 goddamn albums. Wow. I kind of forget until moments like this happen, and I have to, like, physically say it out loud. I'm like, oh shit. Like, all right. It almost feels braggadocious in a way. I'm like, I don't mean to. Can I ask you, like, so I'm guessing you're just creating all the time. How do you distinguish between what you release and what you don't? Like, how do you, at the end of the night, you're like, yep, this whole, I need to expand this, and this is going to become an album? Or do you just, like, follow every idea till it's fully reached fruition? Or are you throwing shit away often? Or I'm not, this is going to sound more pretentious than I intended it to. I don't make anything to throw it away. I've never made a song, a beat, a rap line that I've completely, like, thrown away and been like, I don't want to use this for any real reason. Wow. Almost everything that I've put out is almost everything that I've written since I started rapping and started producing, to be fair for both sides. Yeah. So, in that sense, I haven't really thrown anything away. I don't make all the time, and I'm not always creative, but at least when it comes to making albums, I like to, once the album art has, like, become finished, it's game over. Once the album art has been made, the album comes. Usually what I've, and this is another weird thing too, because I'm about to break this cycle. Okay. But until now, the cycle has been that I'll do the album art first, and then I'll guesstimate how long I want it to be. And then I'll do song titles, and then beats, and then lyrics. And then I'll go back through everything like 4 or 5 times. And then when everything's been, like, once all the beats are assembled and everything has, like, whatever order I want the song tracks to be in,
Yeah.
I'll sit on those beats for a month or two and just let life happen.
Yeah.
And when it feels like it's about time to write, I just sit down and start writing to it. Like, I'll sit and listen to the beats over and over for a week or two at a time until the writing just kind of starts to happen, and then it snowballs. And once I start writing one song, I'll usually go 2 or 3 songs in a day and then stop. And then the next day I'll go back and record those 3 or 4 songs and then stop. And then when the next burst of writing happens, I'll just keep snowballing.
Whoa.
But up until today, that's how I've been doing my albums. But now I'm about to just try and change the formula.
What's new? What's happening now?
I just want to keep things different and fresh. I kind of want to not pre-plan how the next couple albums go, and just make songs and compile songs together, and then see what things sound good together. Maybe pick and choose which songs might go for what, as opposed to sitting down and being like, this song will go here for this album, and this song will go here for this album, and this song will go here for this album. Like, instead of formulating the album and like building it to be this constructed piece, just kind of let it be a natural art.
Yeah. And there's some freedom in that letting go.
Yeah.
About just kind of like just making, not sure where it's gonna land.
Yeah.
But not forcing it. But staying super active with the creativity. And then at the end of the day, who knows what you'll come up with, because you haven't defined it before you started.
Exactly.
And that's fucking beautiful.
And that's the thing that I want to work towards, because I've done a lot of concepts, and I've done a lot of like big think pieces that require, not even necessarily that require re-listens, but just require you to be in a headspace to sit and absorb it. And even though that's already just the way that I write, and I'm fine with that, I like to explore not building a giant Lego castle and then forcing somebody to like look at every individual piece of it all. Just kind of being like, this is my pile of Legos, here, build a castle with it. As it goes. Yeah. Switch things up. It'd be interesting. I'd like to see where it goes.
I like that idea. I don't even know how to do this, but I wonder if you could like make that metaphor a concrete reality. Like, how would, like, maybe there's like
build your own
there's
album,
like here's like, how do you do that? Like, here's 30 songs, take your favorite 12. I don't know. Just like some kind of like, and even if they were like physical objects that one could arrange differently depending upon. I've thought about doing something similar with kind of like, not crowdsourcing, but crowd suggesting, almost like if it was a game of Survivor. Yeah. And there was like 5 songs on the island.
You have to vote one off.
Yeah.
I like it.
But including the audience in that.
Yeah. Somehow getting them to be directly involved. Yeah. With the building of the album.
And let me just say, I can't take full credit for that idea at all. I was talking to Blueprint in Ohio.
That's so cool though.
And he kind of suggested something similar, and we geeked out about it. But I think that would be dope. It's just like
awesome.
The I guess the artistic purist or the narcissist or the arrogant person in me is like, yeah, but you can't vote my song off.
You can't tell me that song's bad. That song is dope as fuck.
I made that song and I decided.
I did that.
You know what I mean? So like, I think letting go of some of that control would definitely change in energy.
It would be dope.
I mean, because that takes a lot of trust in your audience. And how would you feel if, like I heard Outkast's Hey Ya was just like laying around for a couple years, and they're like, fuck this song. and they didn't like the song, and then somebody heard it and were like, dude, we gotta release the song on a new album, and they're like, okay, and then it became this smash hit.
What's weird is that now that you've said that, I kind of get that vibe from that song.
Yeah.
Now that you've said that and put it out there, like, I kind of can hear this being like let's save this song for something. Yeah. And then someone was like, nah, use this song now.
Use this, yeah.
Like, this is strong. I can kind of feel that.
But there's that's the reason the title executive producer exists. Like, not all the time do you know exactly what is in the best interest of the whole scope of the project.
Exactly.
I mean, it does help to get advice. I don't know how the fuck you would structure a game of Survivor with an album. I don't know how to do that, but I mean, I'm willing to think about it.
I definitely am, and now that it's out there, I'm definitely thinking about it, because that's a cool...
Like, maybe if you released... Alright, so imagine on Bandcamp, every Friday, 3 new songs come out, but one of them gets voted off the island. You do that for 5 Fridays. Yeah. Now, you started with 15 songs, cut it to 10, those 10 are the album. That'd be one way to do it.
And then you have basically like a greatest hits, almost.
Yeah.
Like, that style of building an album, which is awesome.
And then, those songs don't actually disappear. Yeah. If you did that enough, maybe you release like 5 albums like that, then your 6th album is all the B-sides. Like, you don't have to, like, delete them and kick them to the curb and burn them. Like, they can be used in the future sometime.
Yeah, something.
I don't know. The writing equivalent to me is save as. Like, whenever, you know what I mean? Like, whenever I get so, like, attached to a piece of writing, and I'm like, I can't change it. It's me. It's my soul. I just click save as, change the file name, and then you realize, okay, that other one's still there.
Yeah, this is just a different idea. This, like, came out of somewhere else.
I don't know. I think it can help us to treat our art as less sacred. You know what I mean? And I don't even know exactly what physical form that would manifest into. But I think it's cool not to take ourselves so goddamn seriously.
Yeah.
Speaking of goddamn seriously, you have a song called Stillwater on that Bad Fur Day album, and you like layer the vocals in almost a death metal-y way.
Oh no, I was screaming.
Yeah,
I was screaming.
I'm so curious about that. Like, can you speak a little to your roots as a musician? Because earlier you also mentioned being in a metal band.
So my musicianship, if you want to put it into like a biography, I'd say that I started playing punk music when I was like 10 or 11.
Okay.
I had a guitar. I didn't know anything about how to play it, but I just knew that you hold a power chord and you can play just about anywhere on the guitar neck. And I played in punk bands for like 3 or 4 years, and then I dipped into metal and got into like progressive metal, and then went from progressive metal to like deathcore, and deathcore went into jazz, and jazz went into math rock, and I was playing guitar and singing and screaming for a whole bunch of different bands throughout high school. And that was all prior to me even really listening to rap and like taking it in as an art form. I heard rap growing up with my older cousins, and it was around, but it wasn't prevalent. And most of my friends were white kids in the country that didn't really listen to hip hop. And it just really wasn't strongly around. Like, the first really big rap group that anyone I knew paid attention to was Odd Future. And that was like right on the cusp of when I was also getting into rap and hip hop.
Okay.
And that was like my junior year. That's like 2011, 2012. And I had just been playing in bands for so long that rap never really seemed like an idea for me to explore. Like, it wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I was in the car with my friends, and we were just riding around listening to rap. And I think I was rapping Biggie Smalls, and my friend was like, "Dude, you've got a voice for that. Like, you could rap if you wanted to." I was like, "I don't really know if I could do that shit." And they're like, "No, dude, like, you've got a strong voice. Like,
Yeah.
You can do funny character voices and all sorts of weird shit. Like, you got a strong voice. You should rap. You should make some music with that. And I was like, I guess. And I made a couple joke songs with my friend, and that became the gold version EP. And that's the first EP I ever put out. And then it just, like, from there I realized that I had, like, tapped into this part of me that I hadn't ever really paid any attention to. It was like, I can rap. Like, I can do this. This is fun.
Yeah.
I love doing this. And it just hasn't stopped. It's been a constant journey since then.
So, you got an album called Legion of Doom?
Yeah.
And you got a song on Legion of Doom called Psyche Dildo? Right?
Psychodildo.
Or is it Psychodildo?
Either way.
Like psychedelic, but psychodildo?
Yeah.
Oh, I like that better than Psyche Dildo.
Psyche dildo, psychodildo.
Okay, anyway, so you got a line on there that I wanted to ask about. It says, "Fuck getting airtime, praise the jazz hop, brain melting math rock," right? And so that got me thinking about asking you, what is your ideal audience? Have you ever thought about it?
That's a question that I think about every now and then, but I haven't been able to put a proper.
Because on some fuck airtime, right? So I'm assuming I'm not going to hear you on Clear Channel Radio. Like, you're not going for top 40 shit.
I'm not going for top 40 shit, but at the same time, I don't feel like I couldn't be there.
Okay.
I feel like if the game were different and things were, I'm not sure how I could even put them into context, but if things were different, I feel like I could be someone that would be listened to on a regular basis. But I'm also not striving to push myself in that direction, because I found that my music is the type of music that you have to find and really appreciate to actually get into. And then not just because I write complicated, weird, structured rap.
Yeah.
I've always kind of been in that, not all the way out in left field, but definitely not in the box. And so I feel like my audience kind of reflects that. Like, there's just a little bit of the misfits. Like, not necessarily completely any one thing. I'm a bit of like a collage, like a mix match. A kid that dressed himself when he's like 5 years old and doesn't really know how to dress himself yet. Like, I kind of fit in that just abstract place where people connect to a lot of different things at one time. And have to digest for themselves what exactly it connects them to.
I've been listening to a lot of Moody Black lately from Fake 4, and I think he just unapologetically takes the name noise rap. He just calls it noise rap, and that is what it is. And I'm like, cool.
I dig it.
I don't know. All right. Because I have a hard time separating the concept of branding from being slimy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's weird.
And maybe that's to my own detriment. I'll be the first to admit that.
It's a weird thing, though. It is.
Yeah.
It's a very weird thing. And I still kind of struggle with it when I'm like the most hesitant to PR myself in any way. It just feels abnormal. And I know it's really the only way things get done as far as like the behind the scenes. But at the same time, I'm like, I really don't feel the need to be like, this is the thing that I've done this thing and you should check it out and buy it or stream it or whatever. Like, but at the same time, to brand myself is to give myself the opportunity to have an audience in this day and age.
Right.
So.
Where do you think, if I could ask, just to dig in, like, where is that awkwardness rooted? Like, where does it come from? Because you're not the only person with it. Like, I think that's a commonality amongst artists who are coming to the table with something that's shaped a little differently.
It kind of feels almost like that's the expected way to be given that meal, to be spoon-fed that meal, is almost like, I was thinking about that the other day because I was talking with somebody in the other room, and we were, and in my head was like, "Don't say that. Like, you don't make weird rap. You make rap music. Like, your rap music is odd and abnormal." And I was like, self-correcting myself in my head. You're like, "Your rap music's odd." No, it's not. It's just abstract, but not really. It's just music. It's just rap music. Like, at the end of the day, I kind of get tired of putting myself in all of the tiny boxes.
Well, I guess what interests me about it is, like, I'm struggling with, do we shun branding because for whatever, I mean, and it's dicey and you got to do it right or it looks really wrong, but do we shun the concept because it's some weird, like, Freudian childish level? We feel we don't deserve recognition, so we don't seek the recognition.
I feel like that might be part of, like, the, not necessarily the brainwashing, but that, like, mental takeover, and it comes to approaching yourself as, like, becoming an artist to the public and having a public image, and, like, all you know of a public image when you aren't an artist is celebrity. And all you know of public image when you're attempting to be an artist is to avoid celebrity. Because celebrity means that there's people in your face and that there's cameras everywhere you go and everything you do is drama and everything you do is news and everything you do is to entice the public to view you in some skewed way.
Which to me is like the opposite of art.
Exactly. And
or something. I don't know.
And so, like, to have a perspective from both sides and then to now be an artist and, like, be in the midst of it all, it's just confusing. It's a blurred line. You can't properly define what it means to have your cake and eat it too in that sense. Like, sometimes you get it, and sometimes, like, it kind of changes day by day, almost, it feels. Like, some days it feels like you're really on top of what it means to be yourself and not have to stick to a brand, and then there be other days where you're like, man, all it feels like I am is this brand. All it feels like I am is what Cunabear exists as in the world for certain people sometimes. Yeah. And that's a weird place to be at, especially if, I don't know, if you were an artist who's very different from the art you make, like if you're a person, I suppose, who's different from the art you make, and that becomes a weird line. That becomes some, like, Hannah Montana versus Miley Cyrus shit, where you're not really sure who you are at the end of the day. Like, that show almost gave me a weird sense of deja vu once I started rapping and, like, being in the public eye. I think someone recognized me at Zoomies one time and was like, "Aren't you that dude?" I'm like, I'm just me at the end of the day. I'm not wearing
my cape right now.
Yeah, I'm naked. What the hell? Like, no. I'm not the dude right now. Right now, I'm just me. Yeah. But, I don't know, man. That line. So blurry.
Yeah. It is. It's tough to navigate, and I don't have any insight on how to navigate it. I don't know. Like, on stage, I like to imagine myself as a rhinoceros.
I could feel that. And you have such powerful energy when you perform.
But, like, catch me on my day off. Like, catch me when I'm fucking home, and all I want to do is, like, read a novel. Yeah. And turn all the electronics off. Like, I'm a hermit, man. Like, I'm a super homebody.
I'm right there with you, man. I'm such a homebody.
But, like, just kind of the version of art that I've chosen and fallen into requires
you to be so outward and so expressive and so public.
And I've kind of learned to do it in seasons. Like, I've learned to go in my hermit land for months and then go into my performance land for months.
I feel like that has just started kicking in for me. Having come back from this tour, I'm like, I want space. Because people have been hitting me up for shows since I got back, and I'm like, I'm not going to perform this summer. Like, I put it in my head. I was like, until, like, at least August, I'm probably not going to do any shows.
Yeah. I tell you, man, when I was talking to Blueprint, it was like, it was a light bulb went off when he said, I can't remember, it's on the interview, but he said something like, I've only done one show this year. Or only one show in the last 9 months. Something like that. And I was thinking like, wow. This is a dude who I like love and respect and have admired for 10 years. If he can take 9 months off of being on stage, maybe I can too.
It's something I've been hearing other rappers talking about a lot lately, is like the time they take off from rapping. I hear it in songs, I hear it in interviews, like they're putting...
That concept is so foreign to me.
Yeah.
Just because I've been out for a while, but I look forward to enjoying a season of hermit life.
Yeah, having gone on that tour and then coming back, this is the longest break that I'll have had since I started rapping, really.
Yeah.
That has been a constant output of some sort pretty much since day one.
I just got a couple more questions. One is, what is your most tangible fear?
My most tangible fear? Wow, that is a good question. I'd say my most tangible fear is isolation, and it's a weird fear that I've had this battle with. I've suffered from depression and anxiety, and I've had problems with it since I was a little kid. And I never really have problems with like the physical act of not having someone that I care about be here all the time. Like, I'm not someone who's like so codependent that you leave me and I'm like unable to cope. But at the same time, I really hate being alone. I love being by myself. I love spending time with myself, and I enjoy my me time a lot.
Yeah.
But I hate feeling isolated from whatever is like the external life that surrounds me.
Yeah.
Like, even in the act of being at home and like spending time at home for a long time.
Yeah.
After a while, I'm like, I need to like see somebody or go out and do something, because I'm feeling really like on my little island. And even on Legion of Doom, I wrote a song called Isolation Island that basically expresses that fear. It's like the act of just being so in your own head because of your anxieties and the things that make you depressed and the things that hold you down, that you feel completely isolated even when you're around the people that care about you. Like, it's a weird feeling to be surrounded by people that you love in one room and still feel like none of them know you're even in that room at all.
Right.
That kind of stuff boggles my brain. It definitely shakes me up. I feel like if I was in a horror film and I got isolated from the rest of the group, that'd be it. I'd give up. I'd be like, oh, I'm dead. yeah, that's it for me. I did my best, but I'm dead now. Isolation, man.
So what is the opposite of fear for you?
I guess the opposite of fear for me would be comfortability, more so than the act of like being physically connected to a person. Because if I'm comfortable, I have nothing to feel isolated for. When I'm comfortable, I feel in the moment, I feel present, I feel here, I feel relaxed, I'm at ease. It's almost like animal instincts, like when a rabbit is out in the grass and is by himself. Yeah. They're just munching on grass and they're comfortable and they're relaxed and they're in their environment. But the second they're spooked, their ears perk up and they're prepared to do anything, whether it means running or staying or what have you, and they're completely alert. And that level of alertness makes me feel so alone because I'm always in my head. Yeah. It's just the mental gears are always clicking and I'm always anxious about shit. So I'm always feel like I'm the only one who's thinking about everything all the time, and that thought just produces that fear. It brings that isolation out of me. Wow. It's a weird I've got weird little contradictions like that about myself that I've been trying to work out and like piece together properly.
Yeah. All right, so where can we explore your brain? Like, where do we check for you? As on the internet. How do we find your art and your music?
You can explore my brain at Cunabear.com. That's really just a link to my Bandcamp. But
okay.
Cunabear.com. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Cunabear. Facebook is at Cunabear. Beartooth Collective is also on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. It's all under Beartooth Collective.
Dope.
You can find my visual art at society6.com/Cunabear artwork. They sell my t-shirts and they have my digital art on like tapestries and art prints.
What? Okay, I didn't know about that.
You can get me on your bed covers. You can get me over your shower curtain. I'm all over the place.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cop a shower curtain when I get home.
I've been waiting for a minute so I could get myself some more of my merch. The problem that I have, and it's not really a problem, but using Society 6, I can get my merch on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't have physical merch here. So I can't like bring shirts to shows. I have to tell people to order them online.
Yeah.
But I get to have all the crazy art that I make on a shirt and be whatever colors I want and don't have to worry about printing.
All right, so that's called Society 6, and we look for
Society 6.
Cunabear on there. I'm going to check that out.
Yeah.
I can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your busy day to talk.
I can't thank you enough for having me. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for listening, guys. We love you.
Love you so much.
Thank you so much for listening. That was Cunabear out of Savannah. Please check for him. Look for him. Google him. Find his Bandcamp. Listen to all of his music. He's an extra prolific dude. My name is Jonathan Brown. Thanks for listening. If you want to learn more about me, you can go to my website at www.jonathanbrownmusic.com. And at the top of the website, you will find links. One of them says podcast. If you click on that podcast link, you can find all these podcasts there. Or you can find these podcasts on iTunes or SoundCloud or Stitcher. So thanks again for listening, and do all the social things like commenting and sharing and just general shout outs are always nice when it comes to the internet. You can find me in Charlotte, North Carolina on September 15th at Soul Junction Fest. I'm super excited. It's actually my first big festival gig. And shout out to Quentin Talley for hooking it up. Every once in a while, a gig just treats you like you want to be treated. They fly you out. They give you a hotel. They pay you well. They fly you back. Ooh, that just warms my heart. On September 18th, which is a Monday, right after that, in New Orleans, I'm going to open up for Greaves and Dim Atlas of Rhymesayers. I'm super excited about that. Billsbury Flowboy, my NOLA homie, is also opening, and I'm going to get him on the podcast pretty soon. I'm super excited to talk to him about his journey. He just flew out to Washington State for his show. On September 19th, the following day, Moody Black from Fake 4 is coming to New Orleans, and we're going to rock a show, and I'm super excited about that. And then on the 20th, Moody and I are scheduled to play in Houston. But my heart goes out to the Houston homies. Virgil, Jade, Kent, Maze, Swan. I hope you guys are doing okay and staying safe in the flooding. What else is happening? Kid Dead will probably be in New Orleans on November 4th, if we can lock down a venue. I have a show in Chicago, November 11th. And, December 12th, Mr. Dope Knife, Frankalingua, and Chesky will be down here in New Orleans, and we're going to play the Hi-Ho Lounge on that day. I'm super excited about it. So the fall is shaping up nicely. But thank y'all so much for listening. Again, this is Jonathan Brown, hanging out with you on the Groundwater podcast. Up next, I think we have Dope Knife on the podcast from Strange Famous and Fake 4. He's headed out on tour, so check for him, check his dates. There's a good chance, if you like my stuff, you'll love his stuff. And he's going on tour, so he will be in a city near you soon. AF the Naysayer, local favorite, internationally known. He's also going to be on this podcast pretty soon. We recorded an episode I'm super excited about. Y'all stay safe. It's weird out there in the universe with the weather and the flooding. Check on each other. Tell people you love them. Thanks.